Welcome to Dare, the show for startup leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs who dare to shape the future. Dare is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, OEN, and Darwaft, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. The Dare Show is happy to welcome Andy Seykora, co-founder and CEO of Axia Orthopedics. Axia is a medical device company that empowers orthopedic surgeons to achieve better outcomes faster. We're happy to talk to Andy because he has over 15 years of industry experience. He has over 20 patents to his name, and he's managed all sorts of product teams. So maybe you can tell us how to build great products. Welcome to the show, Andy.
Thank you very much, Ned. It's a pleasure to be here. Happy to connect with you and talk about the startup world.
Sure. Well, have you specialized in the medical field for most of your work and most of your startups?
Yeah, I have. Right out of graduation, I went right into the med device space. I grew up in
Uh-huh.
Minnesota, which is, there's just a lot of med device in that area. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I
there
worked,
is.
yeah, I worked in the cardiovascular space for a while, and then really wanted to move to Portland and the West Coast, and found some great startups out here too, and had an opportunity to work with a number of companies in the Portland area. So yeah, my entire career has been in med device and primarily in the orthopedic space.
Okay. Well, for our audience who may not be familiar with the space, tell us what is orthopedics?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, it's a very broad space and, encompasses all sorts of specialties, spine, sports med, trauma, and that sort of thing. Primarily, my focus has been in the fracture space, working primarily with orthopedic specialists who treat fractures in the extremities and trauma. So that's primarily been where I've focused.
Oh, great. Okay. So basically helping people with bones, is that a fair summary?
Yes, helping people with bones and particularly those that have undergone some sort of traumatic event, which require intervention to surgically operate and restore that anatomy.
Yeah. Well, I'll just ask a question that's kind of out of left field before I get into other questions about your startup. Have you broken bones? Have you actually been through some of these processes?
And no, yeah, the extreme empathy. No, I've had a broken sternum that
Uh-huh.
didn't require any surgical intervention. But no, I haven't personally. And, we always joke we are very passionate about making these products, but we don't ever really want to use our product.
Yeah, right. So skiing accidents are not for you.
Yeah, so far so good, knock on wood.
Yeah. Well, so tell me more about Axia and how the company came to be. Your CEO, your co-founder. Who did you found it with?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, yeah, I left industry several years ago to do this, to start an entrepreneurial journey. The problem that Axia has been focused on, you can think of any procedure as kind of having four steps. There's the approach, like the incision. Step two is what we call provisional reduction. That's really when you take the bone and you kind of put it back together. Like, that's a bad pun, but or analogy, but you're taking Humpty Dumpty and you're putting them back together provisionally, temporarily. And that
Mhm.
allows you then to introduce the third step, which is the implants, and install those implants. And then, of course, the fourth step is closure. And Axia really is focused on that step two, that provisional reduction. And, every implant system that I have produced over the years and that my co-founders at the Surgeon Design Center, we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, we had always run into the same thing when we do voice of the customer. We talk to surgeons and interview them. What are your challenges? Tell me about your last case. The number one, two, or three stacked rank user need was always, hey, the reduction's the hardest step. And the reduction is like the most clinically critical. It doesn't matter how good your implants are. If you don't get the reduction right, the implants don't really matter that much. So we had all kind of heard that messaging throughout our careers, this unsolved need. So really, Axia was started when I went to a surgeon design center. Casey Chambers had founded it, and James Michelini's leading surgeon design center now, and presented them with this need like, hey guys, have you heard this too? Does this resonate? And all three of us, unanimously were like, yes, there's a huge opportunity here. It's largely being ignored. It's the most difficult part of the case. It's the most clinically critical part of the case. And for the most part, it's being ignored. So we collaborated and we spent about a year just spinning up different idea after idea after idea. And eventually we've kind of had that aha moment. We were like, you know what? We can take this one part of the reduction that surgeons love and we can amplify that. build off of that. So we're not asking them to do something wildly different. It fits within their training, within their existing paradigm, within their existing workflow, but it makes this procedure go a lot faster, a lot smoother. It adds precision and it eliminates a lot of the frustration. So yeah, it's been an incredible collaboration on team with Surgeon Design Center. And I'll just step back. Surgeon Design Center is also based in Portland, and they are an engineering services group, and they work with orthopedic companies and surgeons to help move innovation forward. And they provide a big engineering resource. So they've also not only been a great resource in starting Axia, but also continuing to grow Axia. They have a capacity of people here that Axia can kind of grab and pull in when we need a big lift of brains to solve a really challenging problem, but then we can kind of dial back, extend our runway, and reduce our burn rate. So they've been a really great partner for us.
Wow. So the product creation cycle is really kind of elaborate. You have to go through a lot of steps to get the kind of input that you need to design the right product, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a, unique setting. Oftentimes in the product design, you're hands-on, you're doing it, you're testing it. But in our world, we're for good reason not allowed in those cases. So, we do have cadaveric tests and other ways in which we can stimulate the use to really get a better understanding. But, our industry relies heavily on getting to know and understand the surgeons who are using our devices. So we spend a lot of time talking with them, throwing ideas at them, having them get into a cadaver lab with us, try the device, try different ways in which the device can be used and be presented. But yeah, so we really rely heavily on really understanding our customer and the things that they need and want.
Yeah. So your customer, for just reading between the lines, there's primarily medical practitioners. It's not like end users, right? Or patients. Is that true?
Yeah, that's a great point. And every industry is obviously different. For us, patients always top of mind, right? That's why we exist. That's why the physician is there. So at the end of the day, we're always trying to build solutions that benefit the patient. But of course, in our case, the patient doesn't even know our product was used in most
Right.
cases. And the healthcare system is really an ecosystem where we are targeting and bringing value to the surgeon who experiences the frustration, who has the problem. But at the end of the day, it's a really complicated system with a lot of stakeholders. And so the healthcare systems are a really big part of our customer set too. So we have to be really conscious about providing products and solutions that not only make the surgeon happy, but provide a value to the hospital. And for
Yeah.
us, I have this great image in one of our slide decks of this provisional reduction. And in that, there's one of the best elbow surgeons in the world, and there's 6 hands doing this step two, right? There's like a couple holding a clamp and a couple retracting and one kind of applying external reduction. And so you see one of the best elbow surgeons in the world with 2 extra people. And you begin to understand like how challenging this is for the average surgeon who's sitting there by themselves trying to get a great reduction for their patient because they know how critical it is to a successful outcome, to an ideal outcome. And so when we look at the products that we're offering, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to empower that average surgeon to get the same outcome that amazing surgeon at Mayo Clinic with 2 extra people in the OR is getting, right? And
Mm.
if you ask our healthcare system, what is your biggest challenge? Their biggest challenge is providing or getting the professionals to address this rising healthcare demand, like getting these highly skilled healthcare professionals. There's a shortage. And so, when you look at the whole ecosystem of who our customer it is, it has to include the hospitals, it has to include the people, address the need for them. And really, I think what we're trying to do is reduce the demand for those highly skilled people to support those operations to get the ideal results that we all want to see for our loved ones who are, unfortunately have to, who sometimes do have these injuries.
Yeah, yeah, got it. So I imagine for kind of critical care pieces like this, the funding model, the go-to-market model is somewhat different than like if I was building a mobile app and just sending it out to consumers. So what's the model like? You've gone through the process with us just now of explaining what it looks like to get product feedback, to get early product validation, things like testing in a cadaver lab, etc. But when the product, how do you actually launch it? What does that look like?
Yeah, and we have some really great partners because we will fully admit, we've been in the product development side at companies and are a bit, we see what the launches look like and we see what, certain products do really well. And we interface with our sales reps a lot. But the orthopedic industry is very reliant on sales representation in the hospital, boots on the ground in every case. They're often there to ensure that sets are ready to go, that the implants are ready. They're a really critical part of our health system. And I think some people don't realize how involved these sales reps are in ensuring that every case goes really, really well. So we have very early on partnered with a number of sales rep distribution owners. And we have a advisory board composed of 4 independent sales rep agencies that are represent some of the larger independent groups throughout the country. And we really rely heavily on them both to help us ensure we have the right scope, help us ensure that we are launching this in a way that will be useful for them. Because at the end of the day, to access the hospitals, to access surgeons, we need the people that have those relationships, that have built those relationships. And they're specific to every hospital. And so we rely heavily on those sales reps to be there for this. And yeah, I think the thing that's been really cool about Axia is we've talked to these sales reps. There's a lot of excitement about it because they see that this is something that they can bring to their surgeons and bring to their hospitals and say like, hey, I've got something now that you can use on every single fracture case to make your life easier, which is exciting both to like supply something innovative and useful to their existing surgeons, but also they're always trying to find that wedge to open the door to that customer that they haven't quite gotten a chance to get. So they've been a great group for us to leverage, and they've also showed up in a big way for our last funding round. They brought about a third of the financing to it because there's a lot of excitement for the solution to get into their hands.
Yeah, that sounds like you have to really provide good care and feeding to your sales channel.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't speak to every industry. I've worked a little bit on direct to consumer, but in orthopedics especially, that relationship that those individuals have with those surgeons and with those hospitals and their understanding of the nuances of every hospital system or every ASC is incredibly valuable and incredibly important. And so, yeah, we rely very heavily on those sales reps, and then we'll continue to grow those sales distribution network by adding more groups as we expand.
Got it. Got it. So we talked about the product development cycle, the go to market with the sales channel that you have. What about funding for medical organizations such as yourselves? Do you go standard kind of VC route or a different route or?
Yeah, I think we probably took maybe a less typical route. We started this once we had a solution. We reached out to some of our sales reps that we knew, and we worked through them to kind of validate and see if, is there something here worth doing something with? And we got such exciting feedback from surgeons that there was sort of this up moment where we're like, okay, this is the thing that we've been kind of waiting for. This is the idea that's got a big enough opportunity, enough excitement, it's checking all the boxes. We're going to raise the money we need to bring this to market. And so we really looked within our network, within the surgeon design network, within our friends and family. We looked at other leaders sort of adjacent to our space and the sales reps. And so we were able to raise the funding that we needed just within sort of the internal network and this maybe second or one removed from our network, so to speak, and really focused on people who really understood or know the orthopedic space and understand what our product is doing and the problem that we're attempting to solve.
Got it. So
And
what's next for the company?
yeah, and I should say I want to also highlight that one of our big funding sources was AO Bio, the OEM, putting on the AO Bio event this year, which we took part in, and it was a fantastic opportunity to meet with local entrepreneurs who have been through it and done it, learn a bunch of stuff that that we needed. The timing was incredible because as we were learning about these things through the AO Bio program, we're also doing them. And then it led to, of course, this pitch event, which we were lucky, I think, to some extent, because the other companies there were just incredible. I just was amazed at the people and the incredible problems that the other companies were working on. But we got lucky. We were very grateful to have come away winning that event and getting a $180,000 investment from OEN's AO Bio Fund, which has been a huge help in helping us complete our funding round and get the funds we need to go to market and do what
Oh,
we want
that's
to do
super
here.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And so are you still raising now, or are you in the middle of kind of heads down getting the product to market, or both?
Yeah, we are done raising money, which is great for now. But yeah, we are really heads down getting the design. We've completed the design work and now we're moving into the tooling part of this. We have a number of injection molded parts, stamping parts, things like that. We're entering the very beginning phase of tooling and all the design for manufacturability work that goes into that. And med devices is not fast, and there's a lot of requirements that we need to make to ensure that our product's biocompatible, that we meet all sterilization requirements, that the packaging holds up to aging and to distribution. There's a lot of work that we have with our manufacturing partner over the next maybe even a year to before we're ready to confidently put that into the hospitals and healthcare systems.
Yeah. So then what comes next after you get your product to market? Do you plan on additional products in the same space, or where are you going
Yeah.
next?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I'm an engineer and have been led my spent my entire career in product development. So of course, like my brain always wants to go and launch a new product and the next new product. But of course, to look at this from the perspective of what's going to be the best for the business. And so I think we've got our initial launch is going to cover a huge amount of indications and a huge amount of opportunities. And so I think our focus will really be on getting access to as much of that as possible. I think there's just a huge opportunity in front of us with what we're launching. But everybody in product development knows that the moment you put a product on market, you get wildly valuable feedback from users. And
Absolutely. I mean, no plan survives in the encounter with the battlefield, right?
exactly. Yeah. And all the assumptions where you're like, God, I really know that the next thing is going to have to be this, that just goes out the door. And then this other thing that you hadn't anticipated becomes the number one priority. So we have certainly some really exciting products in the pipeline that we would really love to bring to market. But I think it probably is, I think we've got a really clearly awesome product to start with. And I know that we're going to learn unexpected things and refine what the next generation or what the expansions or what the new systems are. But yeah, certainly I do believe that new products, expansions, and that sort of thing will be in our future too.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask a question that might be obvious, but a lot of companies in the medical space are now beginning to use machine learning or AI to design products or to optimize products. Are you using any of these kind of advanced statistical modeling techniques to figure out a product?
Not so much on the Axia side. The thing about our product is really simple. If you look at the technology, it is a mechanism or a series of simple mechanisms with some novel aspects that really make them work exceptionally well for the indication. And so it's kind of a good thing too, right? Because one of our advisors, who's the founder of Acumed, which is a large orthopedic medical device company in Portland, one of the things that always stuck with me is he would categorize new products as, either they're a commodity and you're going to sell that off of price and relationships, or it's innovative. And that falls into two buckets. That's either going to be intuitive, where they look at it and they go, oh, that's new. I haven't seen that before, but I totally get how it works. Or it's going to be a concept, which is like, it's new and innovative, but you think it probably would work, but you need to see evidence. You need to see more data. And our product really strongly falls in that innovative, intuitive bucket. When a surgeon looks at it, they go, oh, I haven't seen that before. Tell me about that. And then you can kind of walk them through, show them a demo, and they're like, oh my God, I totally get that. I absolutely understand what that is and what it does and why it works. And so that's the plus side of, having a simple product like ours. It is truly unique to the industry. There isn't anything else like it on the market. And when surgeons see it, they immediately understand what it is and how it works, which is, I think, really exciting. And I kind
Oh,
of
no,
realizing
that's
I
such a pleasure to have people actually understand the value, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. It certainly is. It certainly gave us the confidence to, call up friends and family and say, hey, we've got this really exciting thing going on. And we really believe there's a huge opportunity here to make an impact.
Fantastic. Well, this has been really great to hear what you're doing, where you're going, and what comes next for you. I'd love to hear from you. What do you dare to dream?
Oh man, dare to dream. Well, I mean, I think every founder knows that it's so critical to obsess and focus on the task at hand, right? What are the critical things that you need to be successful? But of course, like it is so fun to think of like what the next big venture is. And there's, the exciting thing about healthcare is there is so much innovation to be tapped into. And I really think there's a lot of great opportunities for future projects. And, this collaboration with Surgeon Design Center has been great because it's accelerated an idea from something that could have just been sitting around on a napkin forever to the horsepower and the connections to the people and the processes to get it to market. So now that that roadmap is kind of there, it's just so exciting to like want to do it again.
Right.
and
Absolutely.
you do it and you go, gosh, I think I could have done that better. I could have done that faster.
Every
And
time you're improving, right?
exactly, yeah. So yeah, the dare to dream, I think, is just the excitement of like knowing that every day you're kind of refining your skills and building the confidence and the know-how to kind of make it all go faster, smoother, avoid, one pitfall or another. Yeah, I think that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your time today and sharing your vision for Axia with us and your story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Ned, for making this possible, for creating this opportunity for people like me to learn from others. And I think it's fantastic. And I'm very delighted to be a part of it. So thanks for having me. And thanks to OEN for connecting us.
Absolutely. And good luck with your product launch.
Thank you.
Thanks to our guests today for their insights into the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We wish you all the best in your startup journey. The Dare Show is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network and by Darwaf, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. Visit us at oen.org or at darwaf.io. Thanks again for listening. Till next time.